And then I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see. Oops, let's try stop share. Wrong one. So if you can make sure that your mic is muted, because I've muted everybody, but then I'm still getting some feedback, that would be great. Okay, and then get that going. Move this over here. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this webinar. I am Stephanie Kaisman, and there's some of you that I haven't met before, but I am your host for tonight. And before we really dive in, I'm going to give you a little bit about my background, but I'm really glad that you're here, and just so thankful for the person and the people that invited you. And yeah, I hope that you find a lot of value in just what we have to share tonight. So again, my name is Stephanie, and my husband Stuart and I and our two boys, John and Nathan, who are in the pictures here, we live in the Kansas City, Missouri area, and we have been helping educate people about biohacking and nutrigenomics for almost 2 years now. And when I first learned about this information, I was just in a really tough place personally. My kids were 4 and 1 years old, and ever since I had them at that time, this is about 2 years ago, I had massively struggled with brain fog, although I didn't even know to call it that. But I couldn't focus, I couldn't really get traction in any area of my life, and I think the biggest problem was just that I didn't really feel like myself for several years, and I felt like a lot of the relationships in my life were suffering because of that. So we didn't have a whole lot of health complaints as a family, but our biggest one was that we would spend our entire winters as a family just dealing with sickness. So from October to April, it seemed like at least one person in our family was always sick all of the time. And in the winter of 2016, 2017, in fact, I think I caught some kind of virus or infection a total of 10 times in a 6-month period. And I thought I was a pretty healthy person. I was doing a lot of really great things. I was eating right, I was exercising, I was getting enough sleep, and I got sick so many times, and that was just me. It wasn't even my kids or my husband, and it was just very demoralizing for us. And so I went on this journey and had this personal mission to find out how I could get us and keep us well through the winter. And along the way, I spent probably several hundred hours of reading and listening to experts in related fields of science and medicine. And I started putting some puzzle pieces together until I finally heard about this new field of science called nutrigenomics. So nutrigenomics is the study of how nutritional compounds affect your genes. And we're learning in science that it's now possible to use certain foods in combinations of foods to initiate a desirable genetic response, which is incredible, okay? Because if you think about it, I mean, everything that's going right or wrong inside of your body right now, ultimately, it's connected to what's happening in your genes. So we're going to be talking about how we can biohack our bodies using nutrigenomics. And I know sometimes when we think of the word hacking, we think of computers, right? Computer hackers. And computers are really complex systems. But if you think about it, our bodies are much more complex than even computers. And when you think of all of the DNA and everything that is comprised to make our bodies function that we don't even fully understand, there's a lot of elements of it that are much more involved than even a computer. And so really, as a society, whether you're dealing with a specific diagnosis or not, we're all in this state of being hijacked because of the environment that we're living in, because of our food quality. I mean, there's just many different ways that this can happen through physical, through emotional, biochemical, different toxins that we're exposed to. EMFs even. I mean, EMFs coming from our cell phones and computers and microwaves and all of the electronics that are prevalent today, all these things that didn't exist 100 years ago or before the Industrial Revolution. And you might have noticed, you probably have noticed that generally today people are just sicker than they were 100 years ago or 50 years ago or even 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, disease rates are skyrocketing even though we have medical advancements and scientific advantages. And you have to ask yourself the question, well, why is that? And there's a multitude of factors, but a lot of them are environmental, and a lot of them we don't have that much control over, and we may not even be very aware of how they're affecting us. And so biohacking and biohackers are people who are making intentional choices to recognize that this is the world we live in today. This is the environment that we're living in now. And they're people who are making changes in their diet. You know, maybe it's as simple as they're choosing to drink water over soda, or to turn off the Wi-Fi in their house at night because of the EMF radiation. And so stuff like that. But we're going to be sharing some information today that can kind of take all of that to the next level, and actually understanding how nutrigenomics, or that study of how nutritional compounds affect our genes, how those can be added into our lives to help support our bodies to be the best version of ourselves. One of the big ways that our bodies are hijacked that we often overlook is really how rapidly this process called oxidative stress is happening. So oxidative stress is essentially oxidation. And you can see that in the apple picture to the left. It's basically the rusting of our cells, both internally and externally in our skin. And it's the result of free radicals accumulating in our body. Free radicals, you've probably heard of them, but you may not know exactly what they are. I know I didn't until I started really digging into this. But free radicals are these highly reactive, destructive molecules in the body. And some of them are waste products of basic cellular functions, but they can also form from exposure to environmental factors like radiation or toxins from toxins from foods that you eat, like we were talking about earlier. And as they accumulate, if there aren't enough antioxidants to neutralize them, it leads to this condition called oxidative stress. And it really can affect all of the organs within our body. It's really building up whether we see it or not. And if you look in this graph on the right side of the screen, you can see how it causes all sorts of problems in the body. So if you think of those free radicals as kind of like a fire in your house, I mean, it's okay and normal when it's contained in the fireplace, but once it's outside of the fireplace, it's out of control. It's destructive, and that house fire is kind of similar to oxidative stress. What's fascinating to me is that the process of oxidative stress, it's the common denominator of nearly every disease or negative bodily condition that you can think of. I mean, whether we're talking about cancer or diabetes or Alzheimer's or heart disease, or even just general inflammation and winter sickness even, oxidative stress is considered to be the #1 cellular root cause of all of those things. And it's also consequently the primary cause of aging too. As a society, we've heard for a long, long time that there's a lot of benefits to taking and eating antioxidants. And we've been told that antioxidants are basically one of the best ways that we can help our body have an edge when it comes to fighting those free radicals, right? And that's kind of what we're taught in school growing up. So antioxidants are theoretically going to get rid of oxidation or oxidative stress. And so a lot of people who try to implement anti-aging and youthful living are going to maybe they'll use vitamin E oil for their skin, or they'll take vitamin C. I know that's what I did for a long time. They'll take it internally. But the problem with those approaches is that those are secondary antioxidants. They are supplements. They're trying to correct a deficiency, if you will. But our body has a much more effective mechanism in place to get rid of those free radicals. We have this internal system that produces its own antioxidant enzymes, and it's a lot more powerful and effective than any supplement that you could ever take. And so the question arises, if our body naturally has these homegrown antioxidants, well, how can we help our bodies produce more of them and be properly functioning so that the body can get rid of the trash, the free radicals, and really be dealing with the problem of oxidative stress? Well, one of the fathers of this field of science called free radical biology, okay, a very famous scientist, Dr. Joe McCord, he was the one to discover that our bodies have their own antioxidants. And you can see some of the names of them in this graph. SOD, which stands for superoxide dismutase, then catalase, then glutathione. And if you look at what these are master antioxidants. So whereas blueberries, for instance, or a dietary source of antioxidants are going to have a 1-to-1 ratio of eliminating free radicals, these master antioxidants are going to accomplish much more than that with fewer molecules. So if you are activating your body, for instance, to produce your own SOD, each molecule of SOD has the ability to eliminate 1 million free radicals per second. Okay, I mean, it's crazy. So if we go back to the house fire analogy, if you're trying to take antioxidant supplements for oxidative stress, it's really like trying to put out that house fire with a Dixie cup of water. You're running to the sink, you're filling up the Dixie cup, and then you're going and trying to put out the fire with that Dixie cup. It just doesn't work. I mean, the fire is going to grow so much faster than you're able to extinguish it with that little bit of water. But what if you could turn on the fire hose? And as we just kind of said before, our bodies have its own fire hose. And it's that system that triggers those internal antioxidants that our bodies produce. So you remember how, we said that we talked about SOD and how each molecule of SOD has the ability to eliminate 1 million free radicals per second. I mean, this is just a whole different ball game than consuming antioxidants through food. So by comparison, one serving of blueberries, okay, which are a high antioxidant food, it's about 6,700 molecules of antioxidants. And so it can eliminate 6,700 free radical molecules. But what if you had 6,700 molecules of superoxide dismutase? And each one of those could neutralize 1 million free radicals per second. It's incredible. So your body is accumulating 300 sextillion free radicals a day. All right, so eating the serving of blueberries, can you imagine that just doesn't really put a dent in the amount of free radicals that are happening in your body on a daily basis? So do you think they're working? Well, the doctor that discovered that the body has those antioxidants, Dr. Joe McCord, he found that the best way to activate the body to make more of them is by turning on this genetic pathway. And we now call it the NRF2 pathway. They didn't know exactly what it was called when he first discovered it, but he found a way to turn on this NRF2 pathway using plants. He spent over 40 years of research trying to figure out how he could activate this pathway. And after trying lots of synthetic and natural options, he stumbled into this synergistic combination of 5 different herbs. Right, you can see it there on the screen: milk thistle, bacopa, turmeric, ashwagandha, green tea. And he found that if you put these together in a particular combination, it activates that NRF2 pathway to increase your glutathione, your SOD, your catalase, and all of these are really, really powerful. So he put this formula together into a pill and he called it Protandim. And I just really like to call this God's pharmacy. I mean, when we're activating our bodies to be able to do what they were designed to do from the inside out, it's just so much more powerful and effective at healing and restoring and rejuvenating our cells and our DNA. So with this synergistic approach to activating your body, it's not supplementing. It's not the same thing. I mean, we're not correcting a deficiency with this. We're turning on a genetic switch inside of each cell that tells the body, tells the cell to make more of what it needs and make less of what it doesn't. And after 40 years, this combination was found to activate that NRF2 pathway really powerfully. And it's really important to keep the synergy of these ingredients in place. So if you haven't tried this yet and you're thinking about trying it, it's pretty important to pay attention to the ingredients, not only of this, but also anything else that you might be taking so that it doesn't mess with the ratio or the effect. Because that synergy of those things together, the formula, the ratio is so essential for activating that pathway. And this just shows you how that synergy takes place. I mean, you can see that the individual ingredients alone down here, ashwagandha, bacopa, green tea, silymarin, that is milk thistle, these aren't alone really activating the NRF2 pathway by themselves, but when you put them together in a particular combination, it has an 1,800 times greater effect on turning on that pathway. It's pretty remarkable. So Dr. Joe McCord, who we're talking about, he formulated the Protandim, and he actually published an article after doing a human study on it, on people ranging from 20 to 80 years old to see, okay, you know, we've got a way to increase the antioxidant production. How is this going to affect the oxidative stress that's hijacking our bodies and cells? And in that study, what he found was that the oxidative stress was reduced by 100, or it was reduced in 100% of the people involved by about an average of 40% in 30 days. And what this looks like, what that means essentially, like in the testing, was that in their blood, there's biomarkers that you can look at to determine how old you are by looking at the blood. And after 30 days on this pill, they would take the person's blood before and after. And after 30 days on this pill, you could not distinguish by looking at the people's blood who was 20 years old and who was 80 years old, because all of them looked like they had 20-year-old blood, essentially. It's incredible. So that study, it was published in the Wall Street Journal, and when it came out, ABC News saw it and they thought it was a scam because nothing like that had ever been done or proven before. So they wanted to investigate, and they thought it was snake oil. And so they go to investigate with John Quinones, who you see in the picture over there. And they actually have his blood work drawn right on national television. And he only takes Protandim for 2 weeks. And the study said that you're supposed to give it a month to reduce oxidative stress. But they come back in 2 weeks after starting the show, and they find that his oxidative stress has been reduced by 45% in 2 weeks. And the study said that it would take 30 days for 40%. So essentially what happened was that John Quinones had a better result than was promised in less than half of the time. And that completely validated the fact that it wasn't a scam, it was science, it had research behind it, and it was credible. But there was a little bit of a problem. So you can go watch the news report. I mean, I would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. It's definitely worth your time. It's very short, but it's really compelling just to see how they did all of the testing and seeing all of the numbers go down. It was pretty impressive. But you'll see when you watch that report that it was years ago. It was in 2005, and it was a scientific lab, and they didn't have a lot of inventory or staff to manufacture this product. And so when the ABC report aired on television, there was a big response. There was about $5 million of orders that came in, but the lab didn't know how to respond to all of that business and all of the needs of the people. And so they increased their production, and they got the product on shelves in stores at GNC and CVS and Vitamin Shop, but nobody knew how to explain what it did and nobody knew what it was going to do for their bodies, and so it didn't sell. And so after several years of this, I mean, the company started going into debt, and drug companies, pharmaceutical companies, were actually trying to buy the patents and the recipe for Protandim. But Dr. Joe McCord declined all of those offers because he didn't believe that the pharmaceutical companies shared the same values as him. And I'll let you decide for yourselves what that means. But the company decided to get some advice on how to better market the product. And so they were encouraged to use the incredible platform of network marketing, which really is why you're here today and why someone invited you to learn more about this information instead of just seeing it on Facebook or in an advertisement on television. And it was a great thing that they decided to change over and go this route, because within 3 years of starting a network marketing model, the company went from making $10 million a year to making over $200 million a year in just 3 years. So they did a 6-month trial, keeping it in stores compared with people sharing with people, network marketing platform. And what they found was that network marketing and people sharing with people was a much more effective method, because in today's society, we really do value recommendations from other people. I mean, someone recommends you a good book or a good movie or a good restaurant. I mean, you're just so much more likely to go check it out. And so that's really what we're doing here with this company called LifeVantage. So anyways, after this news report aired, many prestigious medical facilities, they began their own self-funded research. They wanted to take it a step further beyond that initial study. And now today there's over 20 peer-reviewed studies about it on PubMed. And I'll just tell you a quick little story about PubMed, but I have a friend who's in school for dental hygiene. She had a teacher who was responsible for grading all of their papers, and the teacher would just always say, you know, if you get your resources from Google and you cite resources that are from Google or Wikipedia, I'm very likely going to throw out your paper and your source, and you'll probably fail your paper. If you want to get a good grade, go to PubMed. It's peer-reviewed, it's credible. There's such a rigorous testing involved in the studies that are put up on that website. And it's not just somebody's opinion, it's funded by another source. So PubMed's a big deal. And you can see here that we've got research from the American Heart Association, Louisiana State University, the National Institute of Aging, very credible places that it's not just this company that's formulating this activator and tooting their own horn. Everybody else is validating, is doing the validation for us through the studies that are coming out. One of the studies recently done by Washington State University actually says that NRF2, so activating this pathway in your body, may become the most extraordinary therapeutic and extraordinary preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. And this is a really big deal, because this is saying that the science of what we have our hands on is potentially the biggest breakthrough in not only staying well, but in getting well. And I mean, I have to ask, like, if you're already well, why get sick? And if you're dealing with a lot of effects of oxidative stress, your body being hijacked, I mean, why not get well? So it's just an incredible way to equip your body to have an extra level of defense and really improve your health. I also just have to show you this study. This one is not on PubMed. I'll let you figure out why, but if you know where to look, you can find it. This study was done by a drug company that decided to formulate a synthetic NRF2 activator. And after spending buku bucks on their own drug that was synthetic and was specifically designed to target individuals with multiple sclerosis, they funded this $5 million study to compare different NRF2 activators. And you can see in the text here that Protandim, a dietary supplement consisting of herbal ingredients, was the most potent inducer in their study, and therefore maybe the most suited as a therapeutic strategy. Now, honestly, this study, along with their ABC Primetime, is what blew me away about this product, because when you have your competition, a pharmaceutical company, doing a study of your herbal product and then saying, well, actually, an affordable natural supplement is much more effective than our $50,000 a year drug, that's a big deal. This is another slide from that study. It says, it shows the expression of NRF2 in the different substances that were tested. So you can see down here, broccoli. There's a compound in broccoli that I don't even know how to pronounce, sulforaphane. That's a natural NRF2 activator. This one, this Biogen Tecfidera, this was the MS drug that we were talking about. This was another toxic drug that was pulled from the market, but Protandim was found to be the most potent inducer of the NRF2 pathway, and it's natural, it's food. And so it doesn't have the harmful side effects of trying to activate that pathway synthetically, because your body knows what to do with food, but it doesn't know what to do with synthetic components. So with this food-based pill, you don't run the risk of overdosing or overactivating that NRF2 pathway as you do with a synthetic product. So time and time again, Protandim NRF2 has stood the test to be the solution for oxidative stress. And the way that it does that is by turning on the NRF2 genetic switch, so to speak, which increases the body's own antioxidants. And it's been proven to reduce oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days, as you can see. In 2016, a study was completed by the National Institute on Aging. They did a 10-year study. This is great, you guys. They did a 10-year study on Protandim and several other things to see if any of them would have an impact on extending lifespan. And Protandim was the only thing, the only one in their studies, and the only thing ever to prove to have a powerful, significant impact on lifespan in male mice by 7%. But I like to put it this way. I mean, it's not really just about extending life, because if you're living longer, it's usually a good indication that you have a better quality of life. And the quality of life is really what we're after, just helping our bodies resist being hijacked. So this NRF2 science that we're talking about, it's really the basis for most of the product formulations that we make here at LifeVantage. And I think you can kind of understand why. Like, this stuff is really important. This says that the NRF2 pathway directly affects over 500 genes. Oops. So you have about 25,000 genes in your genome, and the NRF2 pathway is responsible for about 500 of them, and specifically genes that relate to your body's stress response. So you can see some of those here. So basically in our DNA, we've got genes that are communicating to our body what to make and how much of it to make. And when our body is hijacked, sometimes those things get really out of whack. Okay, you can see the levels here. There's a lack of communication within the cell. So some of those genes are not working as much as they should, and some may be working too much. But this is what those levels are supposed to look like for those genes. And what's really crazy, if you look into this, is that your body, your cells, they know what the optimal levels for each gene are. There's like a frequency that all of these genes are supposed to operate on, and your body knows it. Your body is so smart. So if we go back to this slide, you can see that some of these genes, whatever the functions of them are, they're really low, and those would be examples of genes that maybe were responsible for producing glutathione, SOD, and other antioxidant enzymes. And maybe these ones that are super high, these might be ones that are causing excessive scar tissue formation, things like that. There's a longer video that if you're interested in learning more about this, I can post in the event group so you can watch it. Really fascinating stuff. So when we level these out, it's really like tuning a piano. I mean, if you play a beautiful piece of music, but the piano is out of tune, it just doesn't sound that great. And so once you get the piano tuned and you play that same song, I mean, it just can be a beautiful piece of music. So this NRF2 activation has the ability to basically tune some of our DNA so that our body can just be more harmonious. And I just think that's incredible. This graph just shows a little more detail of how different genes have ideal levels and how they go up or down depending on what the body needs. And I think something worth noting here is that it's a big trend right now to do genetic testing through maybe Ancestry.com or 23andMe, and people want to find out about their history, their ancestors, what they might be predisposed to genetically. And what is so beautiful, when you can start regulating some of your own DNA, you're basically saying, I want to be in control of my health. I mean, maybe my mom or my dad or my grandparents struggle with this or that, but I'm going to give my body the best advantage to fight and to not be affected by negative gene expression. So one of my friends says, if you have a car with 4 flat tires, are you only going to fix one of them? I know we just spent a lot of time talking about oxidative stress, and that would be one of the tires of the car, so to speak. And we know that we can really help and fix that problem with Protandim Nerf 2. But in addition to oxidative stress, we're also dealing with something else that really can be just as detrimental, and it's called mitochondrial dysfunction. And I don't remember, I don't know if you remember your biology class in high school. It's been a while for me, but mitochondria are like the little engines and powerhouses that turn our food into cellular energy, basically. And so if we think of the previous analogy with the house fire, mitochondria are kind of like the power sources for the home, and to some extent, the fire hose that, would put out the fire. If you think about your home, if you have a gas leak or you got an electrical problem, I mean, those can be really major problems, right? Not just because you don't have electricity or gas if you've got a gas leak or if the power goes out, but if those utilities are in bad shape, I mean, it can cause life-threatening consequences. I mean, it's a big deal. So it's really important that our mitochondria are working properly, because that's how our cells create energy. And when those little factories run down and they get polluted and they're not working well, it causes serious problems in the body. Mitochondrial dysfunction is actually considered the second most significant cause of aging and disease after oxidative stress. But what's really great is that in addition to the NRF2 pathway that we talked about earlier, there's another pathway in your body that affects a different set of genes. So just like the NRF2 pathway affects, those 500 survival genes, NRF1 affects a different set. And these genes that NRF1 affects are much more directed towards helping your mitochondria be healthy, which, like we said, is just so important. And so we have this other product called Protandim Nerf 1 that really helps boost mitochondria production and helps your mitochondria become healthier. And oftentimes what this feels like for a person is deeper, more restorative sleep, better sustained energy, quicker recovery times. Nerf 1 is a game changer. And it's also the second tire. Here's the third tire. So we've already talked about Nerf 2 and Nerf 1, but we haven't talked yet about the role that our gut plays in our health. So today the gut is being called the second brain, right? Because the health of your gut is so connected to the health of the rest of your body. And oftentimes the inflammation that people are dealing with is really starting with something happening in their gut or leaky gut. And probiotics are part of the solution recommended to get more beneficial bacteria into the gut. And so my husband and I, we've tried several different probiotics, and some of them really expensive ones, but a lot of probiotics get destroyed by the stomach acid and the temperature change in your body. So if you have a probiotic that needs to be refrigerated to keep stable, sometimes, I mean, as soon as you ingest it, it's really just broken down before it can be delivered to the right parts of your body. So what's really incredible about the scientific engineering and the technology behind our probiotic is that it actually has a freeze-dried gel barrier around it that is a timed release to deliver the right bacteria at different pH levels in your intestinal tract. and it really helps with having a healthy brain, healthy skin, and your whole body benefits from that. So it's an incredible probiotic. And then finally, the fourth tire in the car, we've got an omega plus, which helps our cell membranes to be healthy, our heart, our brain, our skin, and it also has vitamin D that helps with our immune system. And if you're taking an omega product already, it's really important that you look at the labels and you make sure that there aren't any omega 6s in it, because omega 6s are basically filler oils, and we already have way too many of them in our diet. What we really want is omega 3s and omega 7s. And most fish oils on the market have filler oils, unfortunately, instead of the high quality ones, omega 3s and omega 7s. And so we really want to reduce our omega 6 intake and increase the omega 3 and omega 7 to improve the ratio. So if we put all four of those products together, we've got a combo that we call the Vitality Stack, which last year it actually won an award at the International Business Awards convention for the best new product in health and pharmaceuticals. And I didn't even know that that award ceremony existed, but apparently it's a pretty big deal. So we believe that this combination is really a great foundation. It really is the pillars for anyone that's really looking to optimize their health. It really supports every major system in your body. We also have this drink called Axio that Kathy was talking about earlier. And Axio is specifically Nrf2 activation for the brain. There's something in your body called the blood-brain barrier, which you probably heard of. And with Protandim Nrf2, that internal activator, it really targets all of your bodily cells, but Axio specifically targets your brain, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it feeds the brain with important nutrients. Okay, so here you can see a difference between a boy that was taking before he took Nrf2 and Axio, and then 1 week later. You can see his penmanship, his focus, his attention in school. I mean, it just greatly improved, and it just by adding these two things. I really like to call it our executive brain functioning drink, just because I just feel like I have so much better mental focus, less brain fog. It just wakes me up without jitters. But I know that a lot of us, we love our coffee and our energy drinks, and our body doesn't need all of the sugar and doesn't need high doses of caffeine. I mean, those things can provide a spike, but then a crash. But when you drink Axio, you're getting really steady, clear focus. It's also sugar-free, non-GMO, and vegan. And it's really incredible how Nrf2 activation can affect the brain. Okay, Louisiana State University did a study on Protandim Nrf2, and they basically fed it to some mice, and then they painted the mice with this carcinogenic substance to induce skin cancer. And what they found in that study was that the mice who were given Protandim had a significant reduction in tumors compared with the mice who were not given Protandim. And so that study kind of initiated the question, well, what would happen if you could put Nrf2 activating formulas and then apply it topically to the skin in addition to taking it internally? What would happen? So that brought about our True Science line, which we formulated to use that technology topically. And it's just a 4-step skincare system that's all enhanced with Nrf2 activation. It's really anti-aging from the outside in, to reduce the oxidation and the inflammation on the skin, which is really remarkable. If you look at some of these before and after pictures, there's a few more. And what happened with the skincare line is that people started using those products for their hair and their scalp, because there's a lot of studies that show that Nrf2 activation really does play a significant role in the hair follicle and age-related concerns that people have with their hair. So now we have Nrf2 activation specifically designed for the hair, which I love and have had a wow experience with. I'll show you a couple before and afters. And some of these I just think are remarkable. I mean, the people in these photos they took a lot of care not to do anything different in the process of washing or styling their hair after these before and after these pictures. Here's some more. The hair growth, just the appearance of hair density. It's amazing. So we also don't want to forget our furry friends. We don't have any right now, but you might, and they also have oxidative stress. All mammals, this is something that we deal with. So dogs, horses, cats, cows, you name it, they've all got oxidative stress. And pet tandem is great for dogs. Dogs can also use the regular Nerf 2. And actually, horses have been seen to have incredible results with Protandim Nerf 2 to reduce their oxidative stress. If you ever want to see some videos of animals before and after either pet tandem or Protandim, you can go to YouTube and type in Protandim and dogs or Protandim and horses, and it's pretty remarkable what you'll find. For people who would like additional support with their weight, we have a wonderful prebiotic now, whey protein, and a fat burner. And I don't have my before and after pictures on here, but I've had a really significant result with these as well. And so have all of these folks. So if you're hearing this information and you see the value of implementing any of these products for yourself, if you want to kind of take biohacking to the next level, I mean, that's an option. Or if you're thinking about someone that would really benefit from this information, I mean, we would be delighted to share with them as well. Whoever invited you to this call has a website. They've got a referral link that they can send you. And if you're interested in maybe just one or a set of products to start with, they can help you with that process. But I like to highlight that there's some options that allow you to get free shipping. So the True Science skincare set, the Vitality Stack or Activated Essentials, or the hair care set, which isn't pictured here, they all get free shipping, and whatever you add to the order, it's all free shipping. So as a global company that's really wanting to create awareness about how we can use these products to enhance the overall quality of life for people, it's really helpful to realize that this isn't just something that is limited to sharing in the US or even in our, more local town. We are a global company, and we just opened in Ireland for our distributor program. We're opening in Belgium next month for people to begin sharing about our products and business. And it's really exciting. We've got a lot of new markets that we're opening up in soon. So when it comes to seeing this information, I always like to ask people, if you could go back in time and be in the room with Mark Zuckerberg when he was first talking about Facebook, or Steve Jobs when he was developing the iPhone, would you do it? Would you go back? Would you be a part of that? I mean, knowing what you know now about Google or Amazon or Uber, I mean, if you could go back in time before anybody knew about that stuff, would you have bought stock in any of those companies? And a lot of us would say yes, but the fact of the matter is that most of us, we weren't there. Those ships kind of already sailed, and everybody knows about them, and there's not really a lot of benefit in our involvement other than as consumers. And so when it comes to sharing this information about nutrigenomics and about LifeVantage with other people, there's definitely a stage that you can probably understand where it goes from nobody knowing about something to everyone knowing about something. But right now, there's at least a 95% chance that your family doctor doesn't even know about this, okay? But we can validate it with the very source that they use for their research. We've got patents. I think there's 7 US patents on Protandim Nerf 2. We are a publicly traded company. We have one of the most studied pills in history, and virtually nobody knows about us yet. And I can't speak for you, but that was something that I understood to some extent, and I got excited about when I first heard this information, because I knew enough about the science behind it to know that even the experts in the related fields were unaware that this technology even existed. And that was really exciting for me. I felt like once I kind of realized what I'd stumbled into, I felt like it was the first time when I was kind of ahead of the curve on something. And if you're one of those people that gets excited about that idea, if you see all of this and you kind of have that sense of like, you see that how unique and how new this is in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we would love to lock arms with you and help you benefit the lives of the people that you know that we may never connect with otherwise. So it's totally an option, just to become a biohacker as a customer and to use the products for yourself personally. But if you're someone who sees the value of wanting to share with other people and you'd be interested in understanding a little bit more about our distribution model with network marketing, there's a variety of packages that you could get started with to fit your needs. And we can go over those in greater detail privately. But you're basically getting product and then having the ability to have a referral website that you could use to share with other people. And basically what network marketing is we cut out the middleman. When Protandim was on the shelves of stores, it actually cost more money than what it's available for today through our model and through our distributors. So they were actually able to lower the cost of the product because they were able to take out the overhead costs of advertising and having those products available for retail. So as distributors with LifeVantage, we don't have to keep the inventory in our homes. We don't have garages full of anything. But what we do have is a referral site that we can send you, or you can send another person, and the product ships directly from the warehouse to the consumer. So if you have any questions about what this would look like, we can explain all the different ways that you can benefit through being a part of the distribution model and the generous compensation plan that we have. But one of the aspects of this that I am most excited about is this thing down in the corner that says the Elite Pool Bonus, where when you get to a certain point in this company, you get to share in the global profits of the company. And that I've heard is a pretty big deal. I'm not there yet, but I'll get there. This is a sample of our income earnings disclosure statement from 2017, I believe. And this has real numbers of what people are making in our company every month. Some people just want to pay for their own products, which is great. But some people want to take it seriously and they want to invest more time and energy. They want to look at it as their retirement plan. And some people are looking to build a legacy. So all of that is just really something that is up to you. There's a lot of options. So typically when people see all this information, there's a few thoughts that can be going through their minds, all right? One can be, I want to benefit from these products. Please help me get started so that I can know how they'll benefit my own life. And we always welcome customers. I mean, that is one of my personal passions, and probably everybody that's here that is in this as well. Our passion is to help people get their health and their lives back. There's another group of people that may not totally see the value of becoming a customer, but you may be hearing this and you may think of people who could really benefit from this information. Well, we definitely appreciate getting referrals. We're wanting to have an impact on helping people with their health. So if you're willing to pass along the names of people that you think would value this, I mean, we'd love to connect with them and share with them as well, and send you thank yous for helping us. And then there's a third group of people that typically they hear this and they tend to be really excited about the information and the timing of the business, and they want to share it with other people. And that can be a really exciting option as well. And we can obviously get you more details of what that would include and get you all of your questions answered so that you can feel confident in that decision moving forward. But if someone has invited you to listen to this call and to have this, listen to this overview of this information, just after this is over, definitely connect with them and just let them know where you stand and how they can help you with that process and what you're thinking would be best for you. And if you haven't seen that ABC news report yet, definitely ask the person who invited you to this to share it with you, because it's really powerful and you just got to see it to believe it. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for showing up and dealing with all of the fun, Zoom technical things. I am going to open it up for a